Did you know that the ancient mystics discovered a profound truth that could easily and instantly dissolve your deepest fears and limitations? They understood that life is quite literally a dream, and you are its dreamer. Now, you have undoubtedly heard about these teachings, these ways in which you can manifest all kinds of things. Doesn't matter if it is through some techniques like the law of attraction, the power of assumption, and so on. But so many of us, myself included at one point, have limited this divine power to just material things. We assume new cars, fancy clothes, relationships, promotions at work, a lot of money in the bank. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with desiring these things, when we stop there, we are just barely scratching the surface of what this power can truly do for us. It's like having access to an infinite ocean and only collecting enough water to fill a small teacup. The material world is just one tiny dimension of what is truly available to us at all time. And if you are finding that manifesting material things isn't bringing you the lasting peace and freedom you seek, well, there's a reason for that. There is a much deeper assumption that, once embraced, will transform everything else in your experience. And this deeper assumption, this deeper layer, is what I want to share with you today. This assumption is incredibly freeing and has brought me more freedom than anything else I've discovered. That single most liberating assumption is this: that life is a dream and I am its dreamer. Now, I'm not trying to just be poetic here for the sake of poetry. I am really speaking quite literally. This seeming physical reality that appears so solid and unchangeable is actually a dream projection of consciousness, your consciousness. Think about your nighttime dreams for just a moment. While you are in them, while you are in the middle of them, experiencing them, everything feels completely real to you. The people there seem solid, the emotions are intense, and the rules seem quite fixed. You can touch things, taste things, feel pain or pleasure, yet when you wake up, you realize that none of it was real, or at least as real as it appeared. I myself have had these quite shaking experiences where I have become conscious within my own dreams, what some people call lucid dreaming, and in these moments, I knew I was sleeping safely at home in my bed and I would eventually wake up. I've also had these terrible nightmares where I did terrible things or where loved ones betrayed me. But when I woke up, what happened? There was this immediate relief, this relief that is one of the most wonderful feelings that you can feel, knowing that what seemed so intensely real just moments ago was actually just a dream creation. The shame, the pain, the fear, all of these emotions that you identify with so strongly in the dream, all of them completely dissolve upon waking. So now imagine experiencing that same relief about everything troubling you in this life. What if all your worries, all your mistakes, all your perceived limitations were ultimately just dream images? Now, this understanding isn't new by any means. In fact, this is one of the most ancient of spiritual teachings. It is embedded in what I think is one of the most important mystical texts, which many people use in their religion, called the Bible, but it is a book that goes much deeper than just religion. In the book of Job, we read, "For God speaks in one way, and in two, though people do not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon mortals, while they slumber on their beds." Now, this passage reveals something very important, that divine communication often comes through dreams. But there's a deeper meaning here as well. What if our entire experience is that dream through which the divine speaks? In Psalm 126, it states, "When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream." Now, Scripture doesn't say we were like those who received blessings or we were like those who got what they wanted. It specifically uses the dream metaphor here to describe divine restoration. And perhaps most telling of all is Isaiah 29. "As when a hungry person dreams of eating, but awakens hungry still, or a thirsty person dreams of drinking, but awakens faint and thirsty still, so shall the multitude of all the nations be that fight against Mount Zion." Now, this passage just brilliantly illustrates how our pursuits in the dream of life can still leave us unfulfilled when we don't recognize the dream nature of our own experience. Just as the dreamer awakens still hungry, despite feasting in the dream, one who fights against the truth of the divine dream nature remains spiritually unfulfilled. These scriptural references aren't coincidental, they're quite deliberate, quite purposeful. They're all pointing to the same truth that the mystics and the sages across many traditions have discovered, that life is just a dream, a projection of divine consciousness. And once you truly understand this, everything for you changes. When you genuinely accept this truth in your life, accepting life as a dream, something I think quite remarkable begins to happen. You begin to experience this profound divine relief. Think about this. When you wake from a nightmare, what is the first emotion? Well, it's relief. Thank goodness that wasn't real, you say to yourself. Even if you did something terrible in that dream, something that you would normally never do in your waking life, you don't carry the shame of it for long because you recognize it as just a dream creation. Now, this same relief becomes available to you in waking life when you realize that life too is a dream. You forgive yourself. It's not a dream to dismiss or ignore, but a dream you're meant to consciously experience and direct. Imagine the freedom of knowing that your past mistakes, your current challenges, your greatest fears, none of these are as solid or permanent as they appear. They are just dream images that can be dissolved and reformed through your own conscious awareness. I'll never forget that moment when this truth first really landed on me. There was this very challenging period in my life, and the weight of all of it felt crushing. But during a very deep meditation, I suddenly experienced the unshakable knowing that all of this was happening within a dream and that I was the dreamer. And in that moment, everything changed. The problems didn't instantly disappear, but my relationship to them transformed completely. I felt this wave of bliss and euphoria wash over me, this true, godly relief that I can only describe as coming home to yourself. And this isn't about spiritual bypassing or denial. It is simply about recognizing the true nature of reality, which paradoxically allows you to engage with life even more fully, but from a place of freedom rather than fear. So you must now become the conscious dreamer. Once you realize that life is a dream, you have a choice. You can continue to dream unconsciously, or you can become the conscious dreamer of your experience. Now, remember those lucid dreams where you realized you were dreaming while still in a dream. What happened in those moments? If you've ever had one, it was a very interesting and profound experience. For most people like myself, there's this sudden surge of excitement and freedom. Suddenly, knowing that you are dreaming, you can fly, you can walk through walls, you can create entire landscapes, anything becomes possible. This same principle applies to your waking dream. When you recognize yourself as the dreamer rather than just a character in someone else's dream, you really begin to step into your own true creative power. From this position, you're no longer bound by what you've been told is possible or impossible. You're no longer limited by your own past experiences or conditioned beliefs. You are the dreamer, and the dream responds to your own consciousness. Scripture points to this truth as well in Genesis 28. After Jacob's famous dream of the ladder to heaven, he awakens and says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." This is that moment of awakening that the mystics describe, realizing that divine presence has been there all along within your own consciousness. Now in Romans, another wonderful, wonderful piece of scripture, it says, "Besides this, you know what time it is, how it is now the moment for you to wake from sleep." They're not talking about physical sleep here. They are talking about this awakening to your true nature as the dreamer of your life experience. When you begin to claim and assume the position of the dreamer rather than the character appearing in the dream, everything begins to transform for you. You stop reacting to circumstances and start to consciously create them instead. You stop feeling and playing the role of a victim of external forces and recognize that all power resides within your own consciousness, your own mind. One of the most transformative aspects of recognizing life as a dream is that you stop reacting to the dream images and start to instead shape them. Think about how we typically live. Something happens and we react based on past conditioning. Someone says something that triggers an old wound, and we automatically respond with defensiveness or withdrawal. We see circumstances that remind us of past failures, and we assume the same outcome is inevitable. But when you recognize life as a dream, you see that these reactions aren't necessary or inevitable. They are just habitual patterns that you've been playing out in your own dream. And as the ancient mystics taught, the key is to stop reacting and start acting from your divine center, from the lucid awareness of being in a dream. You don't need to keep carrying forward the same reactions your parents had, that their parents had, that your culture has, that the religion has that you come from. You don't need to keep reacting to the past or to imagined future negative events. You are unique, you are the dreamer. And in any moment you can choose a new response that aligns with who you truly are, rather than who you've been conditioned to be. Think about how differently you would approach challenges if you truly knew that they were just dream images that you yourself are projecting. Would you still fight against them with so much desperation? Or would you begin to see them as opportunities to wake up more fully to your own divine nature, your true nature? To sum it all up, there's nothing more liberating than realizing you are the dreamer of your life experience. This one assumption, this one piece of gnosis, that life is a dream and you are its dreamer, contains within it the solution to every problem you will ever face. When you truly embrace this understanding, fear loses its grip, limitations dissolve, the shame of past mistakes and the anxiety about the future all melt away in the light of this awareness. You're no longer asking permission to be who you want to be or to create what you want to create. You see that there's no external authority to ask. You are the authority on your own dream. No one can affect you. And from this place of freedom, you can begin to deliberately dream a life that reflects your highest vision, not that of someone else. And again, this is not just about material things, though they can definitely be a part of it, but you can create a life of profound meaning, of purpose, of joy and connection. Now, this video is part of a series exploring the deeper truths behind manifestation. Be sure to watch the next video appearing on your screen right now, where we will continue on this and expand on this subject matter. Thank you, and I will see you there.